to come live real quick and pull a few cards. Just something for us to think about this next week coming up. Something to meditate on. Yeah, something for us to consider. Food for thought. The deck that I'm going to be using today is the Ghetto Tarot. This is what it looks like. You okay? Alright, so the first card that I pulled is the Sun. The Sun it's an archetype, right? So it's talking about these dualities, the light and the day. So we can think about rebirth, we can think about success, power, vitality, happiness, fulfilled love, creativity, inconscience, joy of life, universal trust, healing, reconciliation, wisdom, charisma, finding the inner light within us, awareness, boundless energy flow. You are the light source. The power of the sun is in you. Unite the innocence of the child with the wisdom of age. The power of the sun will brighten any day. Sunbathe in his light. Okay, so the next card that I pulled was Judgment. Right, so we always think about judgment in community. We think about judgment within ourselves. We think about how judgment affects our lives. Right now, we know some of the planets that are going into retrograde. I know that Mercury is going into retrograde in Libra. So we think a lot about equality and duality, right? And so right now is a really good time for redemption. It's the last judgment, right? We see it as the resurrection. So it's an awakening, a change, liberation, openness, equality of good and evil, enjoying the achievements, unadulterated assessment of one's own deeds, rediscovery of talents, healing. Who cannot be killed by death lives. Trust and surrender to a higher order. We all come into this world naked, and that's how we all leave it. It's time to focus on what lasts. Take responsibility for your world and mature, right? And so we're asked by the sun for a rebirth. But before we can be rebirthed, we also have to remember to face our own judgments, to face this life, and what we want to make sure that we're walking in grace, right? We want to make sure that we're walking in that sacred duality that we know, right? And so as human beings, we want to hold ourselves accountable, because that's what this life is about, is doing the just thing, is doing the spirit guided thing. So the next card that I pulled is the Hanged Man. So the Hanged Man, we see him just chilling there. We see someone that's just like, like suspended almost. We also see like it can be represented as reversal, right? And so we think about it as the sun being rebirth, judgment being that resurrection, and the Hanged Man is the reversal, right? So we see this as the prison, right? Like the what if, about if we don't hold ourselves accountable, what could happen, right? And so like we are being asked in this time to let go, to surrender a new beginning, right? Like asking, when we ask for blessings, right, in our life, we have to make room for those blessings. And so we do have to hold ourselves accountable. Otherwise we are suspended in this place of having things that we've already had, right? We don't have room for new blessings because we don't allow those the old things that no longer serve us to leave us. in a peaceful way, in a graceful way, so that way the new things can find space in our lives. And so we also think of this time as solitude, calmness, release, making sacrifices, open-mindedness, and finding our inner peace, as well as initiation. There is no point in hanging on to old ideas. To go forward, you have to first let go. There are many perceptions and viewpoints to experience the world. Indulge in life and search for a deeper and higher meaning. We are the creator of our own world, right? And so I like that, because a lot of times, like, the only thing that holds us accountable is ourselves, you know. And if people love us enough, they're gonna tell us, you know, like, hey, you know, like, you did this, or I did this, and I messed up, you know. Like, I think people who tell us what's up, they really do love us, and it always comes from a point of care and accountability, right? And so right now, I think many of us are on this threshold of grand adventures, right? Of new beginnings. And in order for those new beginnings to occur and take place in that peaceful transition, we really do need to make space in our lives for those transitions to come peacefully and easily, right? So the last card that I pulled was the King of Cups. So we have this person here, and they're holding water, right? And they are divine. They have this crown up, and we know that the cups, anything with cups is a blessing, right? Because it represents water, it represents abundance. And so we know that the sun, it's asking us for rebirth, and the judgment, this is asking us for that resurrection, right? Like, how do we remember who we are so that we can have this rebirth fully? And what are the things that are hanging us up right now in order for us to reach this rebirth? And we know that we are the king sitting in our rightful place with our cup of water, right? So we are, the King of Cups is telling us that we are the beloved, right? We are full of compassion. We are solicitousness, emotional balance, and mastery, generosity, right? These are things that we practice to be every day. We try to embody these things. And so the King of Cups is asking us to open up to the world, use diplomacy rather than force, and accept different points of view. In this attitude of honesty and acceptance, we can be healed and help others to be healthy and whole, right? And so as I'm thinking a lot about in our everyday world, right? We can't control the actions of others, but what we can control, or at least manage and mitigate, is the way that we react to the things that occur within our lives, right? And so our daily experiences, things may happen to me from time to time that I'm like, man, like, this is really testing me. And at the same time, I can view it as an opportunity to go about it at a different angle, right? In a different way. Because if I truly am divine and royal, then I have to remember that, you know, and I can approach the situation in a different way, instead of being a lower vibrational self and letting it affect me and my day and the mood that I want to be in, right? And so just to recap, the first card that I chose was the Sun, right? And that represents rebirth. The second card that I chose was Judgment, and that's resurrection, right? And so there's something that is asking, the Spirit is asking us to judge ourselves before we judge others, right? In our rebirth, that's what's really important during this Mercury in retrograde time. It's an opportunity, right? Because there's going to be challenges with communication and technology and things that are just going to come up in general. And so during our rebirth, we want to resurrect ourselves. We want to reincarnate ourselves. And one way to do that is to not get caught up, right? Not to get hung up, not to hang ourselves up, right? And so to hold ourselves accountable. Like, if we know we did something, then let's reflect on that, you know? Like, I really do think it's important to have that self-reflection, and I really think that Mercury in retrograde is an opportunity for us to go within, and especially like this full moon that just went into Pisces, that was an opportunity, right? Pisces is water. We are made up of water, right? And so that time in the moon changes, it was asking us to really go within, right? Because a lot of times, like, Pisces, they're very intellectual beings. They are known to be very closely emotionally intelligent. And so we should take this opportunity as we enter Mercury in retrograde to not get caught up on or hung up on our rebirth. And as seamless as these issues come up in our life, as challenges come up in our life, we have the opportunity to redirect those challenges and turn them into opportunities, right? Weave those embers of gold into opportunities, because we are the King of Cups, right? The last one is the King of Cups, and so that is our opportunity to sit in grace by the water in our divine seating. So that is all. I really want to say thank you to everybody that stopped by, and to everybody that will watch this video. I appreciate your time, and I hope that it has given you something to think about as this week goes on. Blessings.